Welcome in. It's almost time.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. Sports Hounds Monday night, exclusively on A2D radio.com. We got Brad Ryer. We got Doug Minkiewicz. We got myself, Rob Brinkman. Remember to hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Don't miss anything as we move towards the trade deadline, the NBA offseason, and a little NFL talk. We're going to be talking tomorrow. Brad, your beloved running back, Saquon Barkley, along with some of the other running backs around the league not getting paid. With the MLB trade deadline, we got some NBA stuff, Embiid and Harden, and the shit show that is the Philadelphia 76ers. We can get into that. We meant to do it last week, but we ran out of time. Keep it locked here all night on A2D Radio. We got Sports Jeopardy, Fandemonium coming up after us. I believe it's Marcus against Frank tonight. So we got Thursday versus Wednesday. Eastern Kentucky versus Western Kentucky should be a lot of fun. Then we have Rivals, newest show here, New York-based show for you, Brad, coming up around 10 o'clock. Each and every week, we are brought to you by our friends at Philly Sports Trips, the Philadelphia 5for5 Sports Travel Company, premium travel, tailgating experience for the passionate fans of Philadelphia. Go to phillysportstrips.com. I'm sure those trips are filling up nicely for the Eagles season, so don't miss out. Go see them, Vince, over there at Philly Sports Trips. We're also brought to you by Baggio's Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio. You get 10% off your in-store purchase. So we got the trade deadline coming up. Phillies rolling. New York, not so much. Mets, Yankees, not figuring it out. We talked about it last week about everyone's still kind of so in this thing that it's hard to identify the sellers. But that brings us to our poll question tonight, brought to you by Creative Window Design, serving New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, fully authorized Hunter, Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff, 609-226-0391. That's a free consultation if you tell them A2D Radio sent you. So our poll question of the night is, and there's so much to this poll question, I feel like. We talked all 2 hours, I feel, about what the Phillies are going to do at the trade deadline because there's so many moving parts. The Phillies need a splash move at the deadline. I don't even know, how to answer it because, you got Bryce. Looks like he's going to start playing first base tomorrow. You need an outfielder to get Schwarber out. You got a bunch of injuries in the bullpen, so you're going to need – you need some help there. Everybody needs help there. You might need a fifth starter, but I don't know. They got this Johan Rojas now. It's playing center. It looks like they're gearing up for it to be Rojas in center, Marsh in left, Schwarber at DH, and Harper at first. That to me means you need a left fielder, preferably a right-handed stick to play left field and can field better than Schwarber, which shouldn't be too hard. Love Schwarber. Hit Schwarber bombs.
How about a left-handed stick that plays in Chicago?
So you like Cody Bellinger. I like Cody Bellinger too.
Yeah, I'd like to see him on the Yankees, except if the Yankees keep losing, there's no point in trading their minor league players to get him because they won't be even close.
One thing you can do, I think, still at the deadline that makes is bullpen help. I think it's still always easier to grab bullpen arms, and you can never have enough.
That's true.
It's like you look at their offense, look at Philly's offense, you're like, man, you got to bank on your dudes, right? You bank on your guys. Schwarber's defense, you're right. It's going to be hard to live with Schwarber in left and Nick in right, but right's so small, right? He doesn't have to do much. It's right field's tiny. You're just hoping that, Schwarber plays his 6-7 innings, and you can always leave the DH spot. But I always worry about you're not really going to get your bang for your buck anymore. I think as an offensive player, when you already have guys the team's already been to the World Series. You know what I mean? And I think they improved from last year with Nick kind of a bounce back year from hitting the way he normally does. And then you add Trey Turner to the mix, and it's different. You should have enough offense to where it's just a matter of how you can never have enough pitching, and you never know what's going to happen. I think bullpen, like those quiet little moves that not a lot of people know about, are the ones that teams that really make a splash. They either pull them up in the minor leagues, a la 2002, the Anaheim Angels, or you go ahead and and a lot goes into it too. What do you have in the system? What do you guys want? What do teams have? What are their needs? So, but I mean, as far as, I don't think the offense needs any help at all. I think when Dombrowski put this together, thinking like, all right, I have enough offense. I got two studs at the top of the rotation. Then it's like, now I just add arms as best I can, and that's kind of the way I look at that. It goes back to Bellinger's probably a guy that probably could be had, but he had a great year, so it's out there asking prices. They're just going to give him away. I've been joking. I've been talking a lot about the Ohtani thing. Like, what do you do with him? And like goes farther into it. Okay, so let's say, if not to get off topic, but you get Ohtani, right? He's going to command $50 million a year, right? I mean, he's the best pitcher, at the top 5 pitcher, and he's a top 3 hitter. But a team has to protect themselves somehow, some way. Say he signs for $55 million a year, and then 2 years into the deal, he says he doesn't want to pitch anymore. They got to have a way to get their money back. You're not giving them $55 million to be one or the other. You're paying them $55 million to be both guys, right? What happens in a year, 2 years? He says he doesn't want to be a starter anymore. Doesn't want to pitch. He just wants to hit. Now you're stuck holding a $55 million DH. And the scary part is, this is what's scary about. This is one of the main reasons why the players did not want a salary cap or any kind of luxury tax or anything that goes into baseball, because it's just like football. Don't do too good and don't do too bad. Meaning, like, don't be great because we can't afford you, and don't be awful because we'll release you. Because name one team that's been successful with one guy making 25% of the payroll. That's the scary part of Ohtani. And he's proving that you could have 2 of the elite players in the league and you still are irrelevant. Yes, I mean, the Angels have had Trout and Ohtani for how many years now?
Quite a few.
And
nothing.
They're actually have young players.
No pitching. But they have no pitching. And they haven't had a good minor league system in 5 years.
Correct. But what do you think that's going to do? What do you think $60 million a year on someone's payroll is going to do to them?
Don't they have to trade him, though?
Huh?
Don't they have to trade him, though?
No.
If you're not going to,
that's where the go long and involved again. The screwiness of what has happened over the past in the collective bargaining agreements. Like, you're not going to have it, because now all of a sudden now they get a compensated pick back, and it's like, wait a minute, you don't want to give up the pick, you don't want to give up the player. It's like the deadline, you threw some stuff out. Like, teams are more like reluctant to trade their guys and just let them, because if they let them walk, they're going to get another first round pick. So it's like there's no penalty for hanging on to them. If you hang on to them and they stink and he just walks, you get nothing back in the day. You got nothing. So that was what made teams almost force their hand to go ahead and trade guys at their highest value to get more. I go back to the Jose Fernandez, right? The pitcher from the Marlins.
Yeah.
His death set that franchise back 15 years. Easy.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that.
You're talking about like a guy who dominates on the mound. He's flamboyant. He completely, he put butts in the seats in Miami, and that's not easy to do. So you could trade him for how many top prospects of someone else's organization, and that's how teams like the Marlins have survived. Him and that tragic accident just literally set that franchise back 10 years. So that's where it gets long. Like, that's where you're never going to get the value back than what you're giving up. But at the end of the day, you have no payroll flexibility of $60 million is going to one dude.
But I mean, I don't know. That's not good management if you just get that a sandwich pick at the end of you're saying that's the direction of the league. They're cool with just getting.
Yeah, they're okay with it because that's part of the rules now. But I can't. I'm going back and forth with this. Like, what do you do? Like, I mean, he sells tickets. He doesn't win. They haven't won since he's been there. But I think about that all the time. Like, what do they do? How does, like, God forbid you bring that up to a player, they should be like, what? You want me to sign something that says if I just become half of the player I am, I get half the salary? There's no way the union's signing off on that. So that's going to be a tricky. No. Everything about it is tricky, right? Because there's only 4 franchises that can really afford him, maybe 6, and then how many 10-year contracts have actually worked out for anybody except the player? I mean, but you're going to have to give him 10 to get him to sign there, and that's where it ties back into this whole trade deadline thing, where what's legal, what's fair, what do you do? How do you tell the fan base we're trying to win and we got rid of Ohtani, or we got rid of whoever? That's where we are today. And that's
Anaheim's not a small market team, Doug.
Not at all.
No,
not at all.
I mean they with the Dodgers, they get the Los Angeles market. So it's not like they're a small team, a small town team. They can add to the payroll.
You're never really going to be able to add anything if you give Ohtani $600 million, you already gave Trout $500. You better have a solid system, and they better be good for 3 years. And as soon as they get halfway decent, they're gone because you can't afford them.
Now, you're big on, obviously, you do your stuff with USA Baseball, and you're big on player development and the young guys. Like, how do you, like, if you're the Phillies or the Yankees or whatever team that's in contention, how do you balance out, okay, well, we have this guy in the farm, but like, how do you balance that as an organization?
I think
farm system and winning now.
I think some organizations, like let's take the Yankees, for example. Like the Yankees, they used to do a fantastic job of hyping up their prospects, right? Their number one prospect was always great. And you play against them, you're like, they're not really that good. But they did a fantastic job to go get that arm, that starter, whatever it is. They did a great job. Like you knew when I was playing, you knew as a minor league, you knew the Yankees were boasting their minor league system to be sent off in a trade somewhere for someone really good. Where the Twins were, if you're ready to go, and we'll trade the other guy. So there's it's a balance act. You do it all like, okay, can I, for example, like as a player for the Twins, you wanted them to give up 3 or 4 minor league guys for one more starter when we finally got good. It depends on how long it's been since you've been great, right? Depends on what your organization thinks is good, right? What's good for the Twins is not good for the Yankees. Do you want to make the playoffs in Philly? No, you want to win the whole thing, right? Whereas Minnesota, we went 11 years or whatever it was, 10 years before we made the playoffs. Everybody thought they wanted to give us a parade after making the first round. I'm like, that's not what we play for. We're playing for the whole thing. So pin your ears back, and like as a player, you want them to make those moves and then suffer the consequences. But yet the really good teams know what are they good at? What are they deep at? Are they deep at middle infield? Are they deep in right-handed relievers? Okay, well, we can go ahead and lose 3 or 4 of them and we're still okay for our system. So that's where that's where the system really, 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 it really matters how deep and how good and how much quality you have down there to be able to send 3 or 4 away to get the one piece you need in the big leagues and still be okay in the long run.
And that's where because this is the best I think the Phillies young farm system has been in years. They're notorious. They were terrible with Matt Klentak. He couldn't draft anybody. Bad signings. So now I have the list up here, like Johan Rojas, who they've called up, and he's 22 years old. He's the number 6 prospect in the system, according to MLB.com. He's getting playing time. Like, is he getting playing time because the Phillies believe he's the answer in center field, or are they trying to showcase him for a couple of weeks so they can move him because they have Crawford coming up? They have Marsh. I think Marsh is under some team-friendly deal until like 2027, 2028.
Which makes them tradable. And that thing too, like you go back to what you just said, like the minor league guys. I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to let you finish. But shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. But that's where and that's where it goes back to what the Phillies are saying. When your minor league system is not very good, it's usually it lines up with when you don't have an established major league club, right? When you don't have major league caliber players at the big league level, you're rushing any positive sign. This kid can walk and chew gum at the same time. Send him a AA, so they keep moving him. Whereas when you have a set lineup, you give and that's why I said with the Twins was when we became a really deep organization in the minor leagues was when my core got to the big leagues. Okay, we had established guys for 3, 4, 5 years. We let them like marinate in the minor leagues. Mike Kadires, they had time to, dot every I and cross every T. Whereas other organizations like the Tigers, you're completely rushed, right? Because they don't have quality anywhere. So you're just trying to throw a bunch of players up there and see who it sticks. So that's where it goes back. The Phillies actually have, the Harper signing, and all of a sudden that brings Nick over, and the list goes on, where it gives your system time to kind of like exhale and breathe and let us finish teaching. So when you guys need them, they're ready.
Now, Topper, it looks like Bryce Harper is going to play first base tomorrow for, I would assume, the first time ever.
Huge mistake.
Why do you think that?
Because he should be DHing. I think that he's too susceptible to getting hurt.
At first base? All right, so Doug, can a guy like Bryce Harper, can he just go to first base and be successful? Is it that easy? I mean, you were a really good defensive first baseman.
First base isn't so easy to be.
I always joke around,
not good.
Like I can train a zoo animal to play first base in 20 minutes. But on the other hand, too, when you do it every day, things start to happen that can expose you fast. Can he do it? Yeah. I mean, if you can play center field in the big leagues, I mean, Bryce Harper's he's caught, he's pitched. I mean, he's done everything. He can do it. It's just a matter of he's a little bit different than most, because most time you're taking someone. I mean, look, even Joe Mauer. My gosh, if you win a Gold Glove behind the plate, you should be able to go stand at first and be really good at it. It took him time, because Joe's instance was, and I'm sure the same. I don't know Bryce, but I would assume that you don't get to be as good as he is without that competitive fire. So he's going to want to be the best he can possibly be. So he's going to work at it, and that's the hard part, though, of understanding, hey, it gets fast over here, but I think Bryce has enough athleticism to where he's going to be fine. I just don't see where, that's how important that DH spot is, to be able to open that DH spot up. He may not play there every day. If he plays 4 days a week, you get Nick off his feet. You get Schwarber at DH. You put him in left field for a couple days a week. That DH spot is it's like a half of a day off for these guys. And I think he can handle it. Like I said, you're not taking someone who has no athletic ability and trying to turn him into a first baseman. So, I mean, I saw Piazza go over there and it was brutal. But Mike wasn't a great catcher either. So it wasn't you got the same thing at first without gear on. That's all you got. So, but the difference is, I always call it the Jim Tomei rule, right? You let in 3, but you drive in 5 and you win 5-3 and everybody's happy. So no one cares. And, Bryce is going to, do his thing offensively. He's going to be fine at first base.
What's the toughest part about playing first base?
There's a lot of things that there's not really one thing. It's when it gets fast. Like I always say, you can hide someone anywhere for a day. I could have went and played shortstop for a day. And if a ground ball's hit to me, I would have thrown him out of first base. But when little intricate game-changing things come up, and you got to be here, be back over here. Well, that was a headsy play. First base can sneak up on you. I mean, there's a lot of little things. The ground ball between the mound and the bag, that gets screwed up all the time. A push bunt to first with a guy on first. If you want, your instinct is go get the ball, but that's the worst thing you can do, because now all of a sudden you have first and second, nobody out. So there's a lot of little things that happen, but I just think you have enough time to where you can see how it goes and you can work with them. And the only way he's going to get that experience is to put him out there and see what happens.
Is that something you would do as a former manager? Would you push a couple bunts over there, test them?
You'd think, but with all this game today, they don't like. Don't get me started. But like today's game is just the game in itself, and it's always been this way. If you take what the game gives you, you'll never go wrong. You'll never be wrong. You might not execute it, but you're not going to be wrong. Whereas players today don't look at where's the advantage at, where's the disadvantage at. Like even at every level. I mean, I joke around like we had guys that like Kurt Schilling back in the day in 2004. He's bleeding from his ankle. Not one person dropped a bunt down. Is that classy, or is that was just flat stupid? I mean, I'm sorry. Like I'm from the school of I don't care. You send a wounded duck out there, that's not my fault. Like, why wouldn't you try that? That's not disrespectful. Like if you win a World Series, it doesn't say, well, they disrespected Kurt Schilling on the side. And I'm not saying Kurt couldn't feel it, because he probably would have, because he was a warrior beyond word.
With the Yankees, they couldn't bunt.
He had Kenny Lofton.
That team could. I don't think he was healthy back then in the playoffs. If I remember correctly, he wasn't.
I don't believe that. No, one guy can bunt. You're gonna hit, you can bunt.
That team. Listen. If you're talking about 2004.
Yeah, Alex smacked the ball out of my hand. Smacked the ball out of my hand.
But other than maybe Derek Jeter, who was a really good bunter, and he should have been bunting a little bit. But other than him, who
But
Anaheim won that team could bunt.
He got hurt on a bunt. My point is, like, even if it's not part of your game, no one's saying you got to lay down, a Rod Carew, Brett Butler, Juan Pierre Pearl. Just make him move. Like that, but that's part of the game that's gone now. Like, yeah, if I was playing a game against that, I'd be like, we got to see if he knows what he's doing. Like, you go right at it. I mean, what do they do in football? What do they do in basketball? When the weak defender comes on the floor, you go right at him. When there's a hole on defense, what do they do when the starting cornerback gets hurt? The next
they
play,
they throw right at the replacement.
They're going right at him. Why in baseball is it not okay to do the same thing?
They didn't. You know what? They didn't do it to Sabathia when Sabathia could barely move off the mound.
Well, because CeCe would drill you if you bunted.
Well, he did. Yeah, he used to. Yeah, no, he used to. He did used to drill people.
You throw a ball at my head, and I'm like, okay, just as a joke, because we knew each other, but it was a joke. Every first pitch of the game when I faced CeCe was at my head, and then I'd show bunt, and we both like kind of smirk and be like, all right, now we can go play.
We got some comments in here. As far as the Phillies with a splash move, so I'm good with the offense. The other thing they have to figure out in these next couple of weeks is their top prospect, Andrew Painter, who was set to be the 5th starter for the season, hurt his elbow in spring training. Like, is he going to give you anything? Because if he can give you something, like, you remember David Price, and I guess it was 2008, they brought him up, and he was like the closer, super relief guy. Like, can he be the bridge to Kimbrel, who I love as the closer?
He's healthy. And that's where I think I hate the Rays with an epic passion, but you have to give them credit in situations like that. They were the first real team that wasn't afraid. The Angels did it in 2002 kind of, but like they weren't afraid to bring a guy like him up and put him in that situation. And that if he's healthy, why not? Teams haven't seen him. They have video on him, of course, but that's not the same thing as bringing him up in September and seeing what he's got. But they're like, that's another thing too. Like, what do you have in the system? I'm not really that familiar with Philadelphia's minor league, upper level minor leaguers, because like they might be thinking in their head, I've got the 3 best moves we could possibly make wherever they are in Scranton now. I don't know where they are anymore, but like, or Lehigh Valley, wherever the hell.
That's AAA. Most of them are like 20, a lot of pitching, in AA, which is Reading.
So they're. Like, you just, and that's the one thing about Dombrowski. He's going to make calls. If you can steal someone's starter, You know, you get someone else's number one and plug them in at 3. Now, like, that's where, and I think you'll find out. That's what makes the deadline so much fun, is that you really get an insight of how these organizations feel about where they are, where they're going, and what they have. When teams just stand pat, people are always like, "Oh, I can't believe they make a move." Hang on a second. Like they've got some confidence in some guys somewhere else, or they're thinking this isn't their best shot to go the whole way. And that's how other teams think. It's not really we can go make moves, yes, but we didn't really plan on this team being the team that we have the bulletin board says 2025 is when we pin our ears back. So you kind of hoard and stay away, and all of a sudden it's a crazy way to think as a fan that you don't want to hear that, but that's the honest to God truth.
So yeah, they've been Dombrowski's been doing really well with the high schoolers. I guess some of the guys that you coached.
Mm-hmm.
Painter should be here, but he's hurt. They got a guy named Mick Abel. He's a righty. He's 6'5". Certainly looks the part. Justin Crawford is their number 3 prospect. That's Carl Crawford,
right?
His dad. That they really like him. Griff McGarry, he's 24 and he's still in Double A.
A little old.
So maybe that's a guy they can float out there. Then Johan Rojas is here.
Let's put it this way: you send them all. You give them. You say here, if they have their eyes set on someone, they say, okay, what's it going to take? Say I just for shits and giggles, they call the Mets. I want Scherzer. Okay, tell me what's it going to take? And they'll either say you don't have it, or they throw out some astronomical number of players. You're like, hang on a second. Okay, I'll give you get a pick out of one of these 3 guys in tier 1, one of these 3 guys in tier 2, and one of these guys in tier 3, right? And that, like, some teams want number of players. The Twins blew it on Johan Santana when they wanted 5 players back. Don't go get 5 average guys. Go get 1 or 2 difference makers. And that's kind of where, like, that's another thing too, where I always feel like the teams that really have done well have gone, when they trade their big guy, they get 1 or 2 guys. The 4 or 5 player, you might get a righty who mashes lefties, right? But you're not going to get, like, the Indians were good at that for a while. They get a bunch of dudes back, and you're like, who are these guys? Next thing you know, they're killing. They have one skill set that they do really well, whether it's this guy hits righties, this guy hits lefties, this guy gets righties out, this guy gets lefties out, this guy's a great defender. So you get 4 serviceable guys. But I always feel like when you trade those superstars, don't go get 5 dudes. Get 1 or 2, just pluck their best 2 and hope for the best. They can't miss kids.
I mean, we get some comments here. American loyalist on YouTube, Ohtani to the Rays.
No shot.
Because they won't pay him.
No shot. The league won't say absolutely. The Major League Baseball would say absolutely not.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen. Well, the Padres already – first off, the Padres stink. I watched them all weekend against the Phillies. They stink. Juan Soto – but Juan Soto is just not a guy.
They've become the Yankees of the West Coast.
Yeah, but the difference is the Yankees have been in the playoffs every year for the last 7 years and have been over 500 every year since 1994. So it's not quite at that level. The Yankees are having a bad year this year, but they're still over 500.
The Padres have made it farther than the Yankees have in the last 5 years, on average.
No, they haven't.
He's right about it. I mean, wait, hold on.
The Yankees have been in the LCS 3 times in the last 5 years.
I forgot because they got beat up so bad in the ALCS. I just wiped that out of my memory.
Okay, but they got there. They got there last year. They keep running into Houston, unfortunately, just like everybody else does. Nobody.
An actual team. It's weird. Isn't that funny? They
Yeah,
run into an actual team.
Huh?
So you don't like the Yankees makeup.
I just don't like. Look, I've been saying it throughout my entire career. Like they were better at every single position individually from 2002 on, and they couldn't get out of their own way. I was on one of those teams.
But they had no pitching.
We had Ching-Ming Wong won 20 games. We had Roger Clemens. We had Mike freaking Mussina. We had pitching. We had the best closer in the history of the game. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you need well, my point is 96, 99, 2000, 2001. They were great players, but man, they grinded you to the bone.
98 may have been the best team ever, by the way. Let's not forget that team.
The team concept, like that's just like Knobloch foul pitches, Jeter I mean, it's like O'Neill. It was like just constantly wear you down. Bernie, the list goes on and on. They don't do that anymore. The teams that still do that, they don't do that.
No, because Brian Cashman is looking for. He gets all right-handed hitters in a ballpark that has a short right field.
Well,
this is why. Well, Brian Cashman is, Brian Cashman. Boone is the problem, but the Yankees don't get fixed unless you fire both Boone and Cashman. It can't be just Boone, and it can't be just Chapman.
You want the smaller part on the opposite side. You don't want it on the pull side. You want it on the opposite side.
No, you want left-hand hitters in Yankee Stadium.
To pull everything, then you don't get a chance to pull the ball there.
If you're left-handed, you can.
You don't think the opposing team actually looks out there and realizes it's 280 to right field? That makes you my point is it makes you a better hitter when you stay on the ball and use the whole field. Yes or no? Like that. If you
absolutely.
I get what you're saying, but if that park's so small, Giancarlo Stanton can hit balls to right better than most left-handed pull guys, and it makes you susceptible to everything else.
I'm not necessarily talking about Stanton, okay, and I'm not talking about Judge because those guys, it doesn't matter if they hit the ball, if they barrel the ball, it doesn't matter where they hit it. It's going to be a home run anyway. But guys like Rizzo. Well, Rizzo. I mean, right now with the Yankees, there's 4 major problems. Okay, one just went on the DL, thank God. Hopefully, we'll never see Josh Donaldson in his 140 batting average again. LeMahieu, who's only hitting 230, and I think he looks washed to me. Who's the other one?
Common denominator here. DJ LeMahieu won titles. He's getting worse. Name one player that's on the Yankees that's gotten better in the last 5 years.
Judge.
Okay, one. He won an MVP for hitting 62 fly balls into a Williamsport.
He also hit 311 though.
Out there.
Yeah, but he still hit 311, and he's probably the best defensive right fielder in baseball when he's healthy.
Oof. Okay, I know you have Yankee glasses on,
but come on, Doug. You see some of the catches he makes. I'm not saying he also can play. He also plays center field too. I mean, the guy's phenomenal. He's got a great arm. There's nothing he can't do in right field, especially in Yankee Stadium because it's a short porch. He can throw guys out from the warning track.
Okay. How many championships has he won?
Yeah, but that's not his fault. It's not his fault that they haven't had enough pitching.
Okay.
But, he doesn't pitch.
But that goes to Doug's point earlier. You're paying Judge so much money. It has to sign Rodon and you have Garrett Cole.
Bad big toe. You can't play a bad big toe. Stop it.
He tore a ligament in his toe.
Derek Jeter would have cut it off.
Yeah, I know. Derek Jeter was a different player than Judge.
I guess my point is something's going wrong inside there. Because
their general manager and their manager.
The GM has nothing to do with Rizzo getting worse.
Sure he does.
How? How can a GM
because he wants Boone to have Rizzo try to pull everything instead of being his regular self. So Rizzo's gotten himself so pull happy that he can't hit the ball at all now.
You just said you don't have any left-handed hitters and you have a short porch, but yet you're telling the one lefty you have you should go the other way more and hit into Death Valley.
He needs to start going the other way a little bit more because and then when he gets an inside pitch, he can pull it. But he's trying to he can't hit anymore. He didn't even hit a home run in freaking in Fenway. He didn't. No, Fenway doesn't count because that's a big ballpark. But he couldn't even hit a home run in Colorado. I mean, come on, couldn't hit a home run against the Oakland A's.
Colorado's not what it used to be. What makes Colorado good is because the outfield's so damn big. Like with how many Colorado was great when they had the ball was different and they didn't put it in the humidifier and the other parks were normal. And then all of a sudden Colorado gets built and now all of a sudden Cincinnati's a bandbox. Yankee Stadium's a bandbox.
To right field it is. It's not a bandbox to left.
Where?
Yankee Stadium.
It's 318 on the left field line.
Right, but it also jets out to 399 in left center field.
Part of the park is small, big. You can't argue.
It's 408 to center.
It's 318.
Yeah, but that's right down the line. It goes back very, very, very quickly in left field.
You can fart a ball out to right field in Yankee Stadium. Legitimately, can fart a ball out to right field.
Well, you can.
Anybody can. Like those guys are freaking great. Those guys are. I missed my point of the story. My point of what I'm sitting there making is like something's going on there because you can't tell me that Rizzo just forgot how. Because Rizzo was, in my eyes, was on that Derek Jeter like route because wins in Chicago, like team guy, great hitter, attitude, snarl, leader, like, and all of a sudden he goes to Yankee Stadium. I'm like, my gosh, what happened?
He hit 33 home runs last year.
No, but that's not who he is. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm like, when he's hitting 200, he's way too good a hitter to hit. What did he hit in Chicago?
He used to hit a lot. He hit about 240, 250 in Chicago his last couple of years.
Hang on.
His numbers were not great in Chicago his last couple of years.
When they won the championship,
they won the championship, he was one of the top players in the game. He was a top 10 player. But he doesn't
forget. Like LeMay, he's a hit machine. Now all of a sudden he can't get out of his own way.
Since May 28th, which is the last time he hit a home run. Okay, and we're talking 40 games ago. He's hitting 204. They had a graphic yesterday. He's hitting like 204. Barely has any extra base hits, mostly singles, and it's gotten to the point where I think he's washed. Stanton doesn't hit. Stanton hits 220 now instead of 270 with 30, 40 home runs. He hits 220, and to me, if you hit 220, that's kind of useless because you're not getting on base enough. And I mean, he has to be able to get some.
Rizzo, by the way, I have it right here. 285, and he hit 233 and 13. Then he made 3 straight All-Star teams: 286, 278. 292, hit 342. Hold on, do I have this right?
No, I'm not talking about his early career. I'm talking about before he got traded to the Yankees. His last couple of years in Chicago, his numbers weren't good. I remember that. I'll look at it again. But
all these guys that were great have gone to New York and just stunk.
And how does that happen?
Don't get me wrong, they don't stink. They're just not doing what their track record says. DJ LeMay, you can't tell me he forgot how to hit. You can't tell me Rizzo forgot how to hit. You can't tell me John Carlos forgot. John Carlos has always been a streaky guy, streaky hitter. When he's on, he can't make an out. When he's off, he can't sniff a hit. That's just who he is.
I realize that, but it's been a lot more of I can't sniff a hit for him this year.
But there's no team concept. There's 9 individuals going up there taking swings, and that's the part that I don't understand. Like there's no team concept at all. It's just that's why they stink in October. That's why they're easily pitched to in October. They're going to beat up 4s and 5s, but when you're facing 1s and 2s, they're all like the old adage. Stop trying to be the guy and just be one of the guys, and you'll be fine.
The problem is they had a top heavy lineup when Judge was in there. Without Judge, they don't have a top heavy lineup, and I don't know if they're just not pitching to these guys or or they're washed. But to me, they look old and they look unathletic at this point in their careers.
Inspired because they're not a team. They're not a team. They're just 9 individuals going up there whacking away.
Isn't that why they brought in Sean Casey to be their hitting coach, though, to kind of fix this?
You can bring in, Gandhi if you want to. It's really, unless these guys buy in, it doesn't matter. Now they might, hopefully, and this is me just being, a player, or not even a player, but a coach, an ex-coach. Like, please, God, I hope they go off, so we can get this analytic crap out of the game. Like, yes, stay in your suit, stay in your Geek Squad t-shirt, in the clubhouse, in the front office, and let us do our job. Like, let Sean Casey go in there and teach, help them. I had this conversation earlier today, and I don't mean that it always sounds so negative to analytic guys, but as a coach, you have to find out what makes a guy. It's like no different than being a boss or a CEO of a company. If you want your employees to do well, you got to find out what makes them go, right? You got to get personal with them. I got to find out what makes you tick before I start spitting out your job and what to do. You're never going to get the full max out of your employee or your player if you're in there telling them, here's a sheet of paper, read this, fix this, do this. You're like, hang on, dude, I haven't even set my bag down yet. Like, that's what I guarantee you what Sean Casey's going to do. And be like, he's got to find out what makes these guys go. Ask them, because they're proven big leaguers and they're proven all-stars. Where do you think you've gone wrong? What do you think? This is what I see, and I don't tell you yet, but I let you talk first, figure out what makes you go, figure out where we think we went wrong, and then we just start having a conversation. That's what the sheet of paper and numbers, or the K-Vest, or whatever the crap they push, you can't find that out. Like, I know how it's like the one thing that analytics doesn't do, it doesn't self-aware who you are, what you should do. It's just like some cookie cutter here. You need to be this. Now go try it. No, go be the best you can be, and we'll build a team around that. And that's what I think has gotten lost in LeMahieu, Rizzo, those guys. Like, be who you are.
Doug, Rizzo, the last 3 seasons, okay? And this was what I was alluding to before, okay? His batting average went from being 293, 283, 273, those kind of averages with Chicago, okay? 2020, he hit 222. 2021, when he was with the Cubs, he hit 248, okay? And when he got traded to the Yankees, he hit 224. Last year, he hit 254. No, I'm sorry. Last year, he hit 254, and then he's hitting 249 this year. I mean, he's not that guy anymore. He's playing way.
What is he surrounded by? He's surrounded by all or nothing guys. It's human nature to start doing what everybody else does. Like, when you're one guy trying to play a team game and the other 8 aren't, you're not going to keep doing what you do well. You're not going to play what the game. You're going to tell what the game. When he was with the Cubs, he did whatever needed to be done. Choked up.
How does a whole team, when you lose one player, I know it's Judge, but how does a whole team, when one player gets hurt, not hit?
You weren't good with Judge. You're not good with Judge.
They were 11 games over 500.
You're not a good offense. You're not a good offense.
Yeah, but they were scoring. But they were scoring enough runs to win.
Name one guy on your team that's going to give themselves up to hit a ground ball to second to move the winning run to third that we have confidence in. The guy behind you is not going to punch out in 4 pitches.
Oh, I don't have any confidence in anybody right now to do that.
Correct. In any of them.
No, none of them. Yeah, and that. Yeah, I mean, really, right now, maybe the most reliable guy on the team is Harrison Bader. And yesterday, he did one of the stupidest things I've ever seen on a baseball field, trying to go to third with nobody out and on a ground ball back to the pitcher. I mean,
what happens when you're trying to force the issue? And that's what I'm getting at offensively. When your offense has no identity, they don't know who they are. So they're just out there just swinging to swing. There's no team concept in anything. So
but that's on the general manager for bringing these kind of players in.
Well, but my point is they were already doing this somewhere else. That's who they were.
Yeah, so why would you bring all these guys in here like Josh Donaldson? He wasn't good anymore, and then they go and they bring him in, and he hits 140, excuse me. Josh Donaldson the last couple of years, I mean, he hit 247 2 years in a row. He used to be a 290, 300 hitter in his prime. He's way past his prime.
But if you do a me first team, that's what you're going to get. There's guys that put up really good numbers in baseball when they're played within a system, when they play within a function of an offense. When you have to be an individual, you're not very good. And you're watching it in front of their eyes. Like that's what I'm getting at. There's zero team, and like the point is, there were team concept guys that the Yankees brought in, and they've just gone to hell because something in there. You can't blame the GM. He brought what he thought was bringing over another dude, another championship kind of guy, and that's my point. I don't know. I graded Aaron Judge. Don't get me wrong. I put the highest grade on him on anybody I saw in the minor leagues in 10 years. I said, but you can't just have one guy. Like,
no,
you can't have one guy.
But why is it that when he's playing, everybody on the team hits a lot better?
What's a lot better though? My point is, you don't beat good pitching. You don't beat good pitching. The Astros, it's like when you guys
the Astros, but nobody's been beating the Astros consistently the last few years. I mean, they've had great pitching. Their pitching is a little less strong this year than it's been in previous years. But I mean, if you look at the Astros, even when the Astros lost Alvarez, okay, they weren't hitting either. Their whole team stopped hitting. I mean, I think that may have something to do with it. But these guys look rushed.
The Astros win because, yes, they have pitching, but their offense is more than one-dimensional. The Yankees, it's like you know what you're getting. And like when you face anybody who has any idea what they're doing, it's like watching a cat bat around a little mouse. It's like you poor little thing. Like they're playing with them because they don't have a team concept. There is no team.
The problem is they don't move runners over. They believe it or not, with runners on third base and less than 2 outs, they've been very good. But as far as like moving runners from second to third with nobody out, that kind of thing they don't do. They don't ever try to steal bases, which is ridiculous because they got a bunch of singles hitters right now. You know, I mean, yesterday they didn't have one extra base hit. I mean, how do you do that in Colorado, no less? That's pretty hard to do.
Because they're up there trying to swing for the fences. There's no other way around it.
So, Brad, what are they going to do? What are your Yankees? What do they do at the deadline? Like, is there anything that can be done? It sounds like all the problems we talked about
I think they should.
I mean, you got swept. You didn't even come.
I think that
in 22.
I think that they need to. I think they need to get rid of guys like Torres, who doesn't have a thought when he's up at bat. You know, he's always trying to hit home runs, and he's not really a home run hitter. He should be trying to hit the ball to the opposite field like he did when he first started with the Yankees. He's a clown on the base paths. He still is a lousy second baseman too. I mean, he's a guy they should get rid of. I think they should let Rizzo go too. Bring in some young players. You know what? If we have to piss away the season, then piss away the season. The season's already pissed away. You lost Aaron Judge. You'll be lucky to catch the Toronto Blue Jays at this point. The Blue Jays are 3 games ahead of them, and they're not going to catch up to the Blue Jays now.
The Yankees signed their own death warrant when they signed Aaron Judge to the contract.
But they had to.
No, they didn't.
Sure they did. They want to put fannies in the seats.
Win games. They'll be there.
Especially in New York.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can go swing on Aaron Judge's nuts.
He missed now
for the next 8 years and have the same pitching staff you have now. You're gonna have holes everywhere. That's what I'm trying to get at. but you better surround them. Like why wouldn't you have a bunch of singles guys or doubles guys around Aaron Judge?
Well, how about guys
around? Have on base guys.
That's okay. That's okay. But how about if they can hit better than 210?
Yeah, but when your concept is they don't care, like you set, like you can't give it, and you can't have one guy dominate anywhere. Look, think of the last. I mean, again, we go back to the last great. I mean, Pujols was the greatest right-handed hitter outside of Manny of my generation ever saw. He went to Anaheim on a 10-year deal. They didn't sniff anything. Like can't.
Pujols, for whatever reason, when he went to Anaheim, he wasn't good. As soon as he left St. Louis, that was it. He was done.
Oh, so frustrating.
No, but you know what I'm saying? He just
lost. He wasn't in the same system he was in before. That's my point. When you have a team collectively buying into the same thing and pull on the same rope, your numbers improve. All Aaron Judge has proved that he can hit on his own. That's it. Like, there's no team concept in that entire lineup. That's why they're in last place. Like, there's no. And that's what I'm asking you. Is like they brought team first guys in, and now they're individuals. You can hate Josh Donaldson all you want. That dude will run through a brick building for you if you get him on the right side.
Yeah, but he'll get hurt. The problem is if he tries to run through a brick building, he'll get hurt before he reaches the building.
So was everybody else. So was your little baby boy Judge. He hit a fence. He tore a ligament in his toe, and now he's gone.
He hit a cement step.
Oh God! Oh no! Jared Jeter dove into his feet.
No, I know. I realize that. Listen, I can't compare Derek Jeter to Judge because Derek Jeter won 5 championships.
Right.
So I mean that's a big difference. But Derek Jeter also, as you said, he had a lot of help too.
But the idea is that he brought it's a team first. When you take on the makeup of your leader, if your leader's out for himself, the other 24 are going to do the same damn thing. No one ever wants to say it. No one wants to bring it up. Am I missing something? Like, you can blame Cashman all you want. You can blame Aaron Boone all you want. But when your leader and had great years and no one else around him did, eventually when it looks like it, smells like it, tastes like it, you got to start questioning it. Like, there were, like, I go back to Rizzo and LeMahieu were great players before they came to New York. Great.
Rizzo, actually, LeMahieu had 2 great years in New York.
Right. And now what happened?
As soon as he signed the long-term contract, he went to pot. You know, I mean, it's hard to imagine a guy who won 2 batting championships in each league that all of a sudden can't hit. I mean, is he too old? Is he old?
Phillies, like Bryce Harper. The guy plays through everything. Look at the way that team plays. They have
very resilient team.
There is no BS. It's just we're playing and that's it. We're going to beat you. I don't know how, but we're going to win. Whatever comes up, we're going to get our freaking animal to the plate. And if he doesn't do it, the next guy will. That's my point. Like, you take on the persona of your leaders, and that's what, like, that's the bottom line. And like, no one's ever questioned Judge. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just bringing up another angle. Going, everybody's like praising this dude as he should, but something's missing.
Doug, they need to get some guys that are younger and more athletic that can hit behind him and around him. He can't do it himself.
He can't. How are you going to do that? You can't. Wow. No one's going to give up their young players that are good to go to the Yankees.
Why? Just because they're the Yankees?
How are you going to get them?
You can get them as free agents. They have plenty of money. They're going to have a lot of money coming off the books after this year.
You just brought over an MVP candidate and a batting champ. And look, you don't think players look at that? I don't want to go to New York and play and let my shit go to, like, all of a sudden if DJ LeMahieu can go from hitting 380 to 210, what the hell's wrong with it? Like, the players look at that. Like, look at that. I
Well,
don't want to
last
play
year he
there.
got hurt. I don't know if it. I don't know if it's his toe from last year. I don't know what the deal is.
There's not one healthy player right now playing in the game right now.
Yeah.
Everybody has something.
I don't know why other than the fact that I just think he's done. I think he's washed up. I think his bat's slow. I think Rizzo's bat's slow. Stanton is too inconsistent. You know, that's part of it. Torres is kind of a clown, unfortunately. He's got a lot of talent, but for whatever reason, he's a clown. I think somebody like him is a cancer to a good team. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I have the Orioles on right now, okay? And I look at the Orioles, and you're right about one thing, okay? They have a chemistry on their team offensively that is unbelievable. They got a bunch of young guys, and they're all, you could tell that they are a close-knit young group of guys. And they're going to, by the way, that team is not a fluke. That team can hit the hell out of the ball.
They should. They've had the top 5 pick for the last 15 years. They should be good.
Well, that doesn't know, but that doesn't always. Sometimes that doesn't always pan out to happen.
For 3 decades, they should be good by now. They had what, one run in '96?
Well, they were good from '90. They were good from '96 to like 2002, 2003, what? and then Buck brought him back in the 2000 teens.
One. Anybody can catch lightning in a ball.
I was in college. They had Adam Jones. They had Machado.
Yeah, they had a good team. Before Chris Davis became the worst player in baseball after he signed that 7-year deal. I mean, they had some really good players on their team.
Really good players doesn't mean you're a good team.
Well, but no, the Orioles were a good team. They had a lot of talent on that team, and they won a lot of games. I'll tell you what, this team that they have this year is unbelievable. Their catcher.
I wasn't managing when they had the Rushman and those guys because I am still shocked at like Hayes and their right fielder. The heck's his name?
Santander.
Yeah,
Santander.
I had those guys when they were in Norfolk, and I was like, ooh, these guys are like, I didn't see any of that. Like, we played them a lot, and I was like, ooh, I don't see any of these dudes. Like, they kept hyping them up, and I was like, oh, I'm just not seeing it. But kudos to those guys because I was shocked. Shocked.
You look now, this guy Roshman is sensational.
Yeah, he's young. He wasn't there.
He's a catcher, and he hits. I mean, in my opinion, watching him, he's already the probably the 4th best catcher in baseball right now.
Wasn't he the first pick?
I think he was.
I think he was. I think he was the first pick.
If you're the first pick, you shouldn't be kidding. That's why the Rangers.
Listen, Mike Trout was the 22nd pick.
I know. USA Baseball cut Mike Trout from the 18U national team.
Jordan got cut. Listen, Jordan got cut from his high school team too.
So it can happen.
It happens. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying. I'm looking at Gunnar Henderson. He's another one. I mean, I know was he the first pick in the draft or like the second pick in the draft or something like that?
He was very high. I mean, like Doug said, they had top 5 pick for a lot of years, getting beat up by the Red Sox and the Yankees all those years.
Right. And it also helps that no one in the division's worth a shit. Like, the Rays are good, but like Boston's irrelevant. The Yankees are irrelevant. The Blue Jays are okay, but like, don't think it's like every time that, like 2 people go down, one guy goes up. Like,
yeah.
And everybody, this isn't the AL East of the past where the Red Sox and Yankees beat up on everybody. Like, that's just not the case. And that's and everybody's like, don't get me wrong, Baltimore's a great story. Young guys, young manager, love it. Love seeing that stuff. But like let's not forget that, like, when you look at the AL East, this isn't your normal year where you like
they're all they are all over 500. You don't have any
sustainable. Like, is this sustainable? That's the question. That's
all of them to be over 500.
Can they do this when the Yankees and the Red Sox are back to where they normally are? That's what I'm getting
Oh,
at.
Baltimore? Oh, I don't know.
All the way. Like, they're all raving about it. I'm like, hang on a second. Like, that's the worst. That's not a very good Red Sox team either. That team is nowhere near what you would think a Red Sox lineup should look like.
No, it's not even close.
Like, that's where, and like, kudos to them, because that's how the Rays, the Orioles, and even the Blue Jays had to think when, like, the Yankees and Red Sox had a down year. They had to pin their ears back and go when Toronto got Tulowitzki, and they took their chances. Like, they saw a crack in the armor, and they took a chance. That's where, that's kind of like the idea of it.
But the Red Sox are kind of like the opposite of what we've been talking about. Like, they didn't pay Mookie Betts. They didn't pay Xander Bogaerts. And they're, as you said, they're not good.
But they're waiting. I think they're waiting on, like,
they got that kid Marcelo Meyer that is supposed to be
pretty damn good. Like, the guy they got, that guy's pretty good. But see, like, that's the thing too. It's like, no one, Red Sox and Yankee fans don't want to hear this, but, like, I've played in both places, and you've actually heard it, not directly to me, and don't necessarily quote me on this, but you heard as a player that they inside dope from people inside the organization was like, they try to win every 3 years. Well, you don't have time, as if you're a Red Sox or a Yankee fan, you don't have time to hear that. You think it's every year, and it should be. But the same token, like my point, like, look at what Philly did, right? They got, like, everybody was kind of shocked that Bryce Harper picked the Phillies, right? Everybody thought to be, the Dodgers or San Diego. You try to pick that one piece that starts the trend, right? That brings the other players with them. Well, that's what, you don't really have that luxury in New York or Boston. You don't have time to, like, okay, he's a free agent 2 years from now, so let's go get this guy. But you're still supposed to win now, because they don't have that patience of everybody else. Whereas you can get away with that in San Diego, right? You've been irrelevant for almost your entire franchise history outside of Tony Gwynn. They went in 84 and then 90,
84, 98.
8, right?
Yeah, and
But, like,
98 they ran into the 98 Yankees, who were probably the best team of all time.
If they played 240. But you can go get Hosmer, which hopefully brings in Machado, right? Like, you can start pulling one piece at a time, and all of a sudden you get Soto. Now you get the momentum going. And, like, the Yankees and Red Sox, they're still, like, Boston, they're got something up their sleeve, whether it's Ohtani or they're about to shove up a bunch of – they have someone pegged as their number one reason to get back to relevancy for them. It's somewhere down the line, and it's coming, because Red Sox and Yankees don't stand pat too often.
No, they don't. What I would say, though, about Ohtani, though, I really don't think he's leaving the West Coast. I see.
We'll see also, too, like, does he take the most money, or does he try to go somewhere he wants to win?
He could go to the Giants or Dodgers.
Why would you want to go to the Giants?
Because the Giants are playing pretty good baseball now.
It goes there. I've never understood that.
They got Bonds. They got Bonds.
Bonds went there.
Dad went there, but see, Barry Bonds can get a ball out of anywhere. You're not going to get mere mortal doesn't want to go play there. It's freezing every night. The wind blows in your face. Like, great stadium, great field, great aura, great atmosphere, but, like, man, like, that's a tough place every damn day to sit there. It's freezing. You're wearing sleeves in July. That's just not fun.
A few more comments here. Joe Hale on Facebook. Thoughts on Jordan Montgomery? Do you go get him?
I think you at least entertain it.
But, like, I think those are the moves that hold the most weight. Like, in 2008, the Phillies won the World Series. They got Joe Blanton at the trade deadline. He was phenomenal. He 8 innings. He hit a home run in the World Series. They brought in Matt Stairs that year. Last year, they brought in.
You can bring in Stroman too, Rob. He's another one that's available this year. Maybe Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito, or maybe Dylan Cease is going to get traded. Who knows?
I'm all in. I'm all in to get an ace. Burns, Cease, Scherzer, whatever. I mean, Dombrowski's smart. He's going to do his due diligence, because I don't want to be boxed in to giving Aaron Nola too much money, an upcoming free agent.
He's going to get a lot of money.
He is going to get a lot of money, but
He's going to get $200 million.
Oh, every bit of it.
That scares the hell out of me because all he does is let up home runs. All of a sudden, he thinks he can throw this curveball, this elite curveball. He hangs it every gosh darn time, and they hit it out of the fence, over the fence. I believe he's leads the majors in home runs allowed. Aaron Nola. Now, is the contract talk getting to him? Did he pitch too many innings last year? He was phenomenal in the playoffs last year. So I'm all in. And then like the Goldschmidt stuff, like I'm not.
Jordan Montgomery to me is like one of those pieces that like that's a sneaky move. It's not a blockbuster where your casual Philly fans are like, "Whoa, wow, now we're gonna win." But people like that change things, man. Like that's a.
He could be a good fourth pick. He could be a legitimate number 4.
He gets to New York. He knows what it's like.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden you go get this dude as your 4, and now you're running up against somebody else. All you're trying to do is match as many zeros as their guy can. And now all of a sudden, like, yeah, that guys like that are huge. He's like anybody from the Cardinals be a shot, right? I mean, you could go try to pull someone out of the Mets bullpen, like if whoever's doing well, because they're completely out of it. I mean, like that's the way you go back to. There's only so many sellers that you can keep going back to, unless you go pull, make a, But the one thing about Dombrowski, he's not going to leave. He's not afraid to not leave one prospect in your system when it's all said and done. He goes and makes moves.
Oh yeah, no, he doesn't care about his form.
He cares, but he doesn't like. He's not afraid to like. All right, I'm going to empty the nest, and then all right, guys, I won you 2 championships. See you later.
Well, he sort of did that in Detroit, though.
Oh, he did that for sure in Detroit. Trust me, those are the worst trades. Like they should be on the FBI's 10 most wanted list with the trades the people they got back for the people they traded. I mean, they traded Justin Verlander, JD Martinez, and the guys they got back it was pathetic.
Yeah.
I
know.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get one legit big leaguer out of all those guys. I mean, you're talking about 2 of the best. They're still making all-star teams and they're 45 years old.
Who did they get for Nick Castellanos when they traded him to the Reds? Probably nobody.
That's a good question because I was there when they traded Nick. Traded to the Cubs. Did they?
No, he went to the Reds.
In Chicago.
Cubs.
He signed a free agent deal with the Reds, I think.
He went to the
and he did the same. He did the same thing his first year in Cincinnati as he did his first year in Philly. He scuffled, and then his second year he became
like I thought Nick because I remember he got traded to the Cubs. I thought
was it the Cubs? I thought he got traded to the Reds, but I know he had a real nice year in Cincinnati though.
Yeah, well, that park for him is tailor-made, just like Philly. I mean, like if you'd have put Nick in his prime in those years he had in Detroit in that park, you'd be talking about a whole different animal as far as number-wise goes. That's where I go back to Barry. If Barry played in a normal park now today, he'd have 1,700 home runs.
Well, and then Miggy, he almost won back-to-back. He won 1 Triple Crown. He almost won back-to-back Triple Crowns in that ballpark. Correct.
And it's not like the average I could see because it's a big park, but like that's insanity when you think about that. Like that's
Miggy could hit a home run anywhere in any stadium.
To right center, which was absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean,
watching 40 was still like I don't understand how you're doing this.
Ryan Swoop, my only concern with Bryce playing first base is a runner running into him or his elbow getting hurt like that.
That's why I think it's a mistake to put him at first base. I'd be worried that he's going to get hurt. I mean, he needs to get that elbow 100% healthy. I would wait till like September before I put him at first base. I just think it's a mistake because he's not fully healed. I mean, you could tell by him only having 4 home runs. He's obviously not 100% yet. Why risk it?
Like when you come back from injury like that, it's not so much you don't feel pain. You just feel it's just different. Things are different. Like I'm sure if he's having any pain at all, he wouldn't be playing.
No, it's not a pain thing. I don't think it's a pain thing. I think it's more or less. I think it's more or less that he has to work on just strengthening the elbow. And my concern is if he's over there, a runner, a ball could hit him. When if a runner happens to be in the wrong spot, there's a lot of things that can happen.
And he get hit by a car when he goes out of the parking lot too. So that's I get what you're. I just know I have 100% trust in Thompson. Topper's going to do. He wouldn't put anybody out there that one he didn't feel could do the job, and two would Topper's not a guy that's going to throw somebody out there and make his team worse. Like he just. Well, go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this, Doug. Okay, there's a guy out there, J-Mark Candelario, who's on the Washington Nationals, who's a good hitter.
No.
You bring him in to play third, and you leave what's his name at first. Bohm at first. Huh?
Bohm at first.
No.
But Bohm
you don't like
him. I work with him.
You don't like J-Mark Candelario? He played he used to play for the Tigers. You're probably familiar with him.
He's perfect where he's at.
Because he's on a losing team. Because
I don't think he can handle mentally a winning atmosphere. Like this kid needs a bottle like daily. Great. I mean, I'm managing some of the minor leagues. And I love playing. I love the chats we have. Great kid, good human being, switch hitter, but like he's one of those guys that have to. Someone's going to make a mistake and go get him, and he might go off. I don't know, but the makeup doesn't the makeup doesn't equal. If he goes to a Philly or in New York, he better go off immediately and not have any rumbles. And otherwise, I just don't see that kind of.
You don't think he's mentally tough enough to be able to handle that?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm just because that move makes that.
I love working with him, but yeah, I
think that move would make sense. It would make sense for the Yankees too.
Yeah,
but if he got off to a bad start or he started making errors, I know what would happen.
Oh man.
Yeah.
If you hate Josh Donaldson, if this kid gets off on a bad foot, he does some head scratching stuff. Like it's.
Yeah, but at least he doesn't hit 140.
He might there. He did that in Detroit when there was 12 people in the stands. All right.
Well, yeah.
Philly's playing too well at the moment to make any splash trades to boost the offense at the expense of breaking the continuity. It's more likely Phillies make a non-flashy trade to acquire a fifth starter or an eighth inning setup man. Eighth inning setup guy.
That's not a bad idea. What about like Giovanni Gallegos?
Yeah, anybody you're getting late in the game, bullpen wise, is not a non-flashy move. But I get what he's saying. Like I would, like I said, I think a Jordan Montgomery perfect. Go in the 4 slot, maybe even the 3 if he gets rolling. Matchup wise, but yeah, I agree. I would not touch their offense. I would go strictly, even middle relievers, and let them figure out their role as they go. And you can't have enough relievers, you can't have enough arms, and you let them compete within themselves and see who's going to be, who's going to be the guy that I go to in our run.
Okay, Doug, let me ask you this. For the Yankees, if they stay within 3 to 4 games of the playoffs, okay, do you think Bellinger could make a difference for that? Could he swing the arrow?
I think Bellinger can make a difference with anybody. I think he's gotten away from his shoulder injury. I think he's gotten away from, trying to live up to stuff that he couldn't keep up with. I think he stopped trying to chase himself, trying to match the great numbers he put up really early in his career, and he's just getting back to playing because you just don't forget how to do things when you're that young. And he's super talented, and he's playing. He's having a great year.
I look at his left-handed bat, and I see right field, and I just think Yankee Stadium is made for him.
And I agree to the sense of coming from Chicago because the Wrigley's a small park all over the place.
Right.
Which is, I'm always leery of some guys when they go, like say if that trade happens, now he sees right field. Well, now he might start to get away from the things that made him his bounce back year, right? Trying to pull more than he has in the past or whatever, because it's a short porch, stuff like that adds into it. But I would, like I said, I think he got away from who he really was. I think he tried to be something he wasn't, and he's definitely, his year is, it's not LA, but it's still a big market in Chicago, and he's having one hell of a season.
Yeah, I mean, if they could stick around close enough, I just wonder if Judge doesn't come back till August. I don't know that they can stay. I don't know that they can stay within like 7 games. If they get like 6-7 games out, they're done. There's no way they can ever catch them. 3.
What are they at? 3?
They're 3 behind Toronto.
That's embarrassing. Oh, wow. It drives me nuts. We become the NHL.
Yeah, I know. They shouldn't listen. They shouldn't even be talking about making the playoffs with a team that they have right now. They shouldn't be, but they put 7 teams in. So I mean, you got to
2 games over 500, and they have a 2.5 game lead in their division. So I get it.
Yeah, and the Yankees have a better record than Minnesota. That's ridiculous.
Correct.
How bad must Minnesota be?
They're not good.
Yeah. Plus, they play in the Central, and that division is
not hitting at all. They're not hitting at all.
Yeah, what has happened to Byron Buxton, by the way? What is going on with him? Have you watched him play at all?
I'd love to know. You're not letting him play defense. He's DHing. You don't let him run.
Well, he's always getting hurt. That's the problem.
Stay out of that stuff with the guys. It's more of a, hey, how you doing? Just letting you know.
Well,
watch.
Based on just based on what you've been able to see, if you watch the Twins play.
Players hate when people try to protect them from themselves. Players can't stand that. I hated that. Or like,
I can understand that.
It just drives me crazy, right? It's like you're trying to tell me you love the way I play, but you want me to stay in the field, but yet when I don't play this way, I'm not very good. And then you're going to complain when my numbers aren't great. And which one do you want? So I don't know how severe. He would never tell me how severe his injury.
No, of course not.
He wouldn't. He always thought he was able to play, which God love him. That's why I love him so much. But that whole lineup is really like even their off-season moves outside of Correa, which Correa fell back in their lap magically. I just don't get it because they've got some pretty good players. They just can't hit, and they're pitching their brains out. They're Sonny Gray.
Yeah, they got some. I like their pitching.
I mean, they're without them, they're 10 games back.
Well, I didn't like they traded Araz for Pablo Lopez. I watched Pablo Lopez
for personal reasons. I just thought I love Louis Araz so much, and it makes sense as a organization. It really does. You give up a hitter for a top of the line starter. I mean,
that's where I dislike. I don't think Pablo Lopez is a top of the line starter. We watched him
now. He
is pitching good, but I mean, Luis Raz. I mean, he's in a big time slump. He hasn't gotten a hit in like 2 days, and he's down to 380.
Right, he lined out. Right.
Yeah.
You mean the last out that he made?
Yeah, that was the first time all season he swung and missed inside the same at bat.
Well,
that's crazy.
That is. But you know what? That ball that he hit to left field. I mean, I think he bruised that baseball. He hit it so hard.
Oh, he can hit. He can hit.
Yeah. I think he just happened to hit it right to the left fielder. But I mean, that ball was scalded.
Yeah, it was.
So really, the only team that's announced that they're 100% selling is the St. Louis Cardinals, who have been a disaster. There's a comment. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to deal Goldschmidt
on opening day?
What's that?
Oakland was selling on opening day.
Yeah, but they don't have anybody. Who am I trading for? Seth
Peter
Brown?
Fairbanks.
That's not a bad name. I thought he was on the Rays. No?
What happens?
He was.
They blow him out and move him on.
He was. He's
Well,
on.
when the
he's
Rays,
on
it's like when the Patriots get rid of you in football. Like if the Rays get rid of you, like
You're out of gas.
they know
Yeah.
they have like a crystal ball.
Beware.
Blake Snell, who pitched over the weekend.
Proctor, you have no hips and no shoulder left or elbow left.
But Blake Snell, I mean, he's rebounded, but they baby him in San Diego. San Diego has no idea what they're doing. They're so bad that they have Juan Soto. There's the comment from Frank. Even have any idea where the Juan Soto to Philadelphia rumors came from? I fancy it, but what would be a suitable offer to get him? I don't want Juan Soto anywhere near my baseball team.
Why?
He's the anti. I mean, Brad talked about Gleyber Torres as a clown. I mean, he dropped 2 fly balls over the weekend in big spots. He's so aloof.
What's he playing around though?
What's that?
What's he playing around?
A joke of a team that's just Machado, Tatis, and nothing else.
Soto wasn't like that with the Nationals, was he? He was a freaking got his face in there and proven. That's something you never know. You never know about these guys until you put them in a situation. And he went from that's what one guy can do. Like aura can do. Like that's what people don't ever equate. Like there's a lot that goes into when you make moves. Like when you try to make moves, you're like, it's the chemistry. Like, Juan Soto didn't forget what he's doing. Didn't forget how to hit. But like that you get in that me first kind of, not to say that, I use that loosely, but like it doesn't look, he's not the same guy as he was when he was in Washington, right? It just doesn't look the same. They get big headed, what is it, contract, whatever it is, but like now it just seems like it's a lot more showy now that he's in San Diego, right? Got to get back to who he is. You get him on a team that you bring him to Philly where, it's Bryce Harper's show, right? It's like it looked like Bryce Harper would eat your face off if you try to do something that wasn't for the betterment of the group, right? That's what leadership is. So I just don't think you need. I think it would take too much to get. You have to give up too much to get him, and it wouldn't be that much of an upgrade from what you already have.
And
Not
the
way he's
rumors
playing
came
now.
Joe Giglio, who's been on our program with Tom Arnone, great guy. I just don't really agree with his sports takes ever. He's been writing articles for 94.1 WIP about, swapping Turner for Juan Soto and like just fantasy baseball, Xbox stuff. So, I mean, that's where it came from. Goldschmidt's interesting, but then you're going to have Bryce at DH and Schwarber in left.
Yeah, but if you go get Goldschmidt, you go get him you try to get him now and lure him. I don't know how many more years does he have on his deal. Is he a free agent? I don't know.
I don't think he's a free agent.
I don't know.
He signed when he went from Arizona to St. Louis 3 years ago, I think. And they paid him, so he's probably got 4 or 5 years left on his contract.
I haven't. I forgot that, but yeah, I would. I don't know that dude. That dude's presence in a lineup.
Yeah.
In Philly with that lineup, eesh.
Arenado wouldn't look bad either.
Yeah. That's if you're the Yankees, that's who I'd go get.
I would love to try to get him, but I mean, what would he? What would they have to give up? Do they have a good enough farm system to get him?
Give up whatever they ask for. If I was Boston, I would go get him.
You do have a third baseman there. That's
even with
good,
Devers there.
So move one of them to first when they get older.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wait a second.
Devers is not a real good third baseman though, so I guess he can play.
Say, hey, I you a ton of money. I want to teach you how to play first. Right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's true. I mean, personally, if you're asking me who I'd rather have between Devers and Arenado, I'd rather have Devers. But that's just my opinion. I've seen Devers hit a lot more than Arenado, but Arenado is a way better fielder.
No, complete player. I'll take Arenado.
Yeah, on the field, absolutely. At bat, I don't think so.
Don't get me wrong, but I think you let Devers go play first and you just concentrate on game.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not the defensive player. He's not a great defensive player at all.
I just feel like I think if you would ask somebody, like a kid already got paid, right? Like, all right, we have a chance to get Nolan Arenado to play third base. What are your feelings? I'd be like, hang on, I gotta get my Rawlings guy or my glove company online. I'm gonna get a first baseman that's in here tomorrow. Like, please bring him here.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I'll tell you what, if they did that and they had a healthy team, they'd have him at first, Story at second. I don't know who's their shortstop now, but Arenado at third is pretty darn good too. That would be one heck of an infield, right?
I just don't see. I see St. Louis trading away like pitching. I don't see them trading away. I think
Gallegos though. Gallegos would be a perfect guy to trade, right?
They unload one of them. They unload Arenado or Goldschmidt. They don't do both. They
say they want young pitching.
Of course.
I guess they're not happy, I guess, with the development of their guys.
It's like a football, the NFL. I want a quarterback. Well, yeah.
No kidding.
Most every team does.
Doesn't everybody? Yeah.
Doesn't everybody? Right. Like,
yeah.
Like we want young pitching. Well, yeah. Like,
yeah.
You got me. Like we all do.
Yeah. Everybody would like to have Milwaukee staff, you know. But then you look what happens, and all of a sudden, you know, somebody gets hurt or somebody gets pissed off or somebody has hurt feelings about something, and the whole thing goes to
That's what's scary about the deadline, about with getting starters, right? You give up 4 prospects or 1 big league guy and 3 prospects, and the guy comes up lame, and you're like, oh, I just got a complete double whammy. Because now I gave up maybe 2 guys that could help me now, and I lost a spot, and the guy we traded for got hurt. That's where I think relievers, are a little more, they're like, not say replaceable, but you have more depth if you'd like to think so. They go get a couple, go get 2. If you look at it, I guarantee they do this. They look back at last year's team. Okay, where did we go wrong? What were we short of? Right? They got Trey Turner. Okay, now what? Now where are we? What's this year's team compared to last year's team? How do we stack up to last year's club that made a run?
Well, you have to hope that Bryce Harper can play like he did last year.
He will.
That's
regular season doesn't mean anything. Like those guys, like they want numbers. Don't get me wrong, but like I guarantee you, once you play in the World Series one time, like he's hit 50 home runs or 40 home runs in a season. He's drove at 100. He's hit 300. He wants to win. So like whatever his numbers are at the end of the season, it ain't gonna have any bearing on what he does in October. They just want to get in.
But all I'm saying is physically, is he going to be the guy? You know, that right now, I think it's all physical. I just don't think he's as strong as he needs to be to be the guy he was last year. I think that's why I think he should DH, because this way it's strong.
It changes a lot of mechanical things that you maybe don't normally see or don't normally feel. Or you don't feel the same thing you felt before, and it's not that easy to just bounce back and be who you were when you're talking about, you know, you're talking about arguably he wins the World Series. You're talking about one of the greatest Octobers in the history of baseball. I mean, that dude was
phenomenal. Absolutely,
it was fun to watch. It was great to see one of our game's greatest players of this generation have a great postseason.
He kind of he was Ortiz-like in the playoffs last year.
Like it was must-see TV when he came up to the plate. You didn't want to get up, go to the bathroom, go get a drink of water, nothing. You want to make sure you saw every pitch.
Do you think playing in the field will help Bryce at the plate?
I think it will. I think DH was the hardest position, at least for me. I couldn't stand it. I only did it a handful of times. I couldn't stand it. But I think it's part of, you know, you can let your mind can grind on you just hitting, or you have nothing to take your mind off of it. I fought that with Joe Mauer, saying, well, he's going to hit, you know, he's going to be so much better when he plays first offensively. I'm like, or he's going to get significantly worse because now he doesn't have anything to take his mind off. His mind behind the plate, now he's bored over here playing first. Now all he's going to think about is hitting. I go, it can happen both ways. Joe's a great hitter and arguably a Hall of Famer who could hit 380 in his sleep. But there's still, like, everybody thinks just because it's according to Hoyle, and he's supposed to be this. I go, it can go the other way. And I think Bryce is going to benefit from being. I guarantee you, like I said, Topper's not going to put him on the field to hurt his players. For his infielders, he wants confidence in the guy they can throw it to. But it also, I guarantee you, Bryce is in there going, I have to go place on the field somewhere. They're not forcing him to do this. He wants to do this. So you at least got to try it.
All right, last baseball thing. We got the Hall of Fame ceremony coming up. Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff are going in. Doug, your thoughts on those guys being inducted?
Fred McGriff for sure. I was a little shocked at Scott Rowland.
As was I.
Numbers,
And me.
But, not to take it, I will say this. He was the first, when I first signed in 1995, I was in Fort Myers. We were playing the Phillies in Clearwater, back in their old stadium with a cement wall. And I remember walking up to the plate, and he was playing third. And I looked, and I thought he was like standing on a ladder. I was like, that's the biggest man I've ever seen in my entire life. I was going, if that's what corner infielders look like in A-ball, I just picked the wrong business. Like, I'm not going to make it. Because it looked like he was playing back, and I could smell what he was chewing in his mouth. I was like, you are the biggest human being I've ever seen. And I tell you what, I just love the fact that they picked two guys who could do it on both sides of the ball. Obviously, I'm a defensive guy, to heart, but like the fact that like they didn't just push away and go all offensive numbers with Scott Rowland. Good guy, never had any, had some issues in Philly, of course, but who else? Who doesn't? But like, he played his rear end off, and he played the game right, and he played the game hard, and he had the utmost respect of his opponents, and that's awesome to see he got in.
McGriff was great, though.
Phenomenal. I'll never forget another funny story. Not funny. It is funny, but I was the one that was messed up. I got kicked in the head at a spring training game. And it was in St. Pete. We were playing the Rays. And I guess I was knocked unconscious. Felix Martinez, I think was his name. He kicked me, and he cut me above my ear. I'm bleeding. I got knocked out completely.
How did you get kicked in the head?
I bunt, and I picked it up, and I dove for him, and he slid head first, and his foot kind of like kicked me. He was the one that always got into fights, breaking up double plays. So everybody thought I was dirty. I'm like, it wasn't. Like, I watched the replay. He just dove head first, and his cleat happened to kick me in the side of the head, and it knocked me completely unconscious. So anyway, I guess I woke up, and literally the first time I woke up, I was in Lavelle Neal's car, who was our beat writer at the time. I didn't know I knew Lavelle, but I didn't know him that well. And I'm like, where the hell am I? Come to find out, they said that when I was in the Rays training room, when they were asking me to come, like, give me the smelling salt, they were waking me up, and they were asking me, like, who's this? Who's that? And I don't remember this, but I was told this. And they said, well, what do you think, I'm an idiot? That's Fred McGriff. That's the crime dog. And he's like, oh, he's fine. And it was Fred McGriff standing in front of me. So I was like, even concussed, I knew exactly who the hell Fred McGriff was. So that was, like I said, being on the same field with those guys, I didn't belong with those guys. Those guys were way better than I was. And it was just two great players and great humans to get in the Hall of Fame. I love it.
Now, we usually do this every time there's a vote or an induction. Like, who's the best? Who isn't in that should be in?
Oh, wow.
Mine was Fred McGriff for a lot of years. It was Mike Mussina, Brad, if you remember, for a lot of years too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the obvious.
I mean, I think it's Schilling right now.
I mean, I could go Schilling, Pete Rose.
Well, Pete Rose, yeah.
Roger. Those are the four. Like,
let's take Barry and Roger out of it, just for the sake of the argument. They're Hall of Famers, as is Pete Rose.
We know they are.
Right. I'd have to think about that one without doing justice. But those two, like Schilling, to me he should have been. To me, he's a first ballot, no questions asked.
Yeah, I agree. He was tremendous.
In his Philly years, still had it. Arizona carried them, and then you win three. You went what? You won two? Am I right? You won three. You won two in Boston and one with Arizona. Lost to the '93 Blue Jays.
He was a baby. He was a baby in '93. I think that was his first year.
Right, just blowing fastballs by everybody. So I'm a little biased, but like to me, like as a baseball fan, how in the world that Curt Schilling's not a first ballot Hall of Famer is we're letting other factors.
Yeah, like this one right here. I'm not going to say it because I'm not opening that can of worms. So we'll just read the comment. Schilling's political views have kept him out of Cooperstown.
Without like this is the Hall of Fame. This is about your playing days. This has nothing to do with anything else. This has because there's a lot of frankly, there's a lot of assholes that have been inducted. They don't take that against them. But there's
Ty Cobb was the biggest racist ever.
If you notice, but they are leaning more towards the nice guy has actually, moved up. I mean, the fact that Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland, they're two of the nicest guys on the game. That doesn't Sean Casey was the nicest guy in the world. Does he make it to the Hall of Fame now? Because everybody's got to be politically correct and be nice. That doesn't change my vote. That I don't care what Kurt's political. That's not what. That's a whole different topic, a whole different podcast. This is about what he did on the field. Is he a Hall of Famer? Yes, hands down.
I could name two Yankees who should be in the Hall of Fame: Don Mattingly and Thurman Munson.
Yes,
I think they should both be. I think they should both be in the Hall of Fame.
Is Bernie in, Brad?
No, I don't think Bernie's the Hall of Famer though. I mean, I think he's right on the edge.
But that's where I get it. Where do you draw the line? Because do you want I feel like everybody's a Hall of Famer in the NBA. Right?
Everyone is. You average 10 points a game and you're in.
When do you stop? Where do you draw the line? Do you want everybody to get in, or do you want to keep it to the elite, or are you just the elite of your era? What I would think that you want it to be sacred and select few. You don't allow them. The guys that are already in should have a really big say in who they allow in and who they don't, and then have it not just be some, no offense to beat writers, but they're letting, I know for a fact some beat writers, because the player was an asshole to them, they're not voting for him, and that's wrong. If they were great players, vote them in the damn Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and it's bizarre because there's so many of them. I mean, there was actually someone who didn't vote for Derek Jeter to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right. Whoever that was should never be allowed to vote again.
Yeah. I mean, how do you not?
Isn't December 25th? You should be booted off the island. But here's
why? I mean,
next year's. So these guys are eligible next year. Your boy Joe Mauer.
He's close.
That's a tough one.
I don't. To me, no. No, because if he's in, then
I feel like if you put one of the guys on this listing,
that's the problem.
They have to all go in.
Correct.
Well, if you put him in,
you bring in Posada
and Veritek.
Yes. Veritek's a yes. Perzinski's a borderline yes. If you bring Joe Mauer in, guy caught 17 years in the big leagues. You look at his numbers. They're not that far off some of the other ones. So I know he's not a Hall of Famer, but I would vote for him because he caught 17 damn years. Gary Sheffield. Gary Sheffield's to me, he's the fact that it's even in question is mind blowing to me. Gary, I think Gary Sheffield's in my eyes, again, if you get Andrew Jones is in, Gary Sheffield better be in before Andrew Jones.
I agree with that.
I think Gary Sheffield.
You're talking about iconic players. And all these guys were phenomenally great. Todd Helton put up Hall of Fame numbers. His numbers were off the chart.
They don't. They always throw the. He played at Coors Field in his face.
He played half his year away from Coors. That doesn't that. You can't hold that against. You can't hold that against guys. Like I said, because then Barry should have hit 1,700 home runs in his career. He played anywhere but San Francisco for half his career. You put him in Cincinnati, he has 1,800 home runs to right field. And that's not being sarcastic. I mean,
I don't think
he has at least 1,000 if he played in Yankee Stadium.
Every bit of it, no doubt. It's almost like baseball said, okay, since you're so good, you have to play here. You have to hit here to make it fair to everybody else. But it's like the hot dog eating contest.
It's like the hot dog eating contest on 4th of July. Like, I think Joey Chestnut should have like 5 minutes and everyone else should get 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he would still win.
He'd still beat him.
All right. We're running out of time. Fandemonium's coming up next. Rivals will be following that. So New York talk tonight. Let's talk some NFL. I'm itching.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes.
Saquon Barkley, Brad, not paid, not coming to camp. Josh Jacobs, not paid, not coming to camp out in Las Vegas. It's kind of a joke what's happening with these running backs, no?
They're all getting devalued. They're all trying to devalue them. And you know what? The NFL, you can I don't care what anybody says. If you have a good ground game and a good defense and a decent passing game, you can win a championship. Because that ground game, you just get the football and the other team doesn't get it. I mean, the Eagles were proof of that last year, the way they could run the ball. You know, they had their quarterback running the football and everybody else was running the football. And yeah, when he needed to throw, he could throw, but nobody could stop their ground game. And that's what made them such a great passing team. Because they could just run and run and run and run and nobody could stop them. And then, you know, by the time that, you know, the other team's putting 9 guys in the line of scrimmage, literally, to try to stop you. And then, you know, they have a field day in the air. It's almost a perfect offense.
I feel bad for running backs.
But running backs are extremely important. Saquon is extremely important to the Giants. He's a great blocker. He's a great receiver, you know, and he was really a big part of their offense. I hope that they can work whatever it is out. I've heard that Saquon is willing to play for the $10.9 million if the Giants promise not to franchise him next year. That's what I've heard now. That's the new.
You shouldn't be. I don't think you should be able to franchise guys 2 years in a row.
I don't think you should either, but it's not the rule. But you know, I think if I were the Giants, I would do that because you know what? If they don't have him, they're not going anywhere.
I think the Giants are going to be good.
Huh?
I think the Giants are going to be good.
Their whole entire offense goes through him.
Exactly.
Like I saw something today where they said the franchise tag for running backs a couple of years ago was 10 point now it's 10.1. So it's going backwards?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insanity.
For running backs, yeah. Well, the guy on Jacobs on the Raiders isn't the only one. There's one in Atlanta too. I forgot who it was.
Well, they picked Bijan.
Yeah. That's why.
And they have that Algier.
Like how
there's
they
a running back.
down
Yeah,
there.
there's another running back in Atlanta who's also getting games played with him. So I don't really get all that why these guys are getting so undervalued.
Look at Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is unemployed.
Yeah, like the longevity of it, I get it, and like that's why everybody has a 2 to 3 back running back room, right? Like there's no one gets 30 carries anymore besides the dude from Tennessee. But it's like
but he even wore down last year. Derrick Henry looked like he was kind of getting beat up last year.
Not rushing for 2,000 yards. That's not going to happen every year. Like
no,
you still rush for 1,500 yards. Like
I know, and they had no passing game either last year.
You know, they were. That's I feel bad for those. Not feel bad. You know what I mean? Like just feel like how. I mean, Dalvin Cook doesn't have a job. Like, come on. Like, why?
That's your boy. That's your.
No, I want to wear a Dolphins uniform. Come, you know, he's from down here. Like. Bring the man home.
How much money does he want? That's what I'm wondering.
I guess too much. That's why he's not.
Like they're with what they're doing to Saquon and the rest of them. Like if you're a running back, say you wanted to go, like Dalvin Cook. Say I'll go play for the Dolphins for 2 and I'll make my money next year. Well, that's not possible anymore if they're franchise tagging. If they're not giving Saquon a long-term deal, what the hell are they going to do to everybody else? You know what I mean? He's like what I saw. What percentage? I'm not sure what it was when I saw that. Like, he's X amount their entire offense of last year. Like if they're not going to give him his money, I mean, now they won't pay Saquon, but you know Jerry paid Ezekiel Elliott, and he has.
And that was a big mistake.
He's not helping anything because he's not helping the running back committee in the NFL because they paid him and he went like he got really slow, really fast.
He's not signed either, I don't think.
No, he's not. He stinks now. But that's the whole reason why the Giants don't want to give him a long contract. Because most of these running backs, other than the Adrian Petersons of the world are very, very few and far between.
Okay, but I'll go back.
They can go forever.
Saquon was what, the 5th pick?
Second pick.
Second pick? So you took him with the second pick.
Yep.
Right? So
it was a dumb pick.
Right, but I guess two schools to it. So basically him franchise tagging him, you're like, we screwed up with the second pick. We're not going to commit to him again. Then why'd you take him with the second pick?
Well, it was a different GM now.
Correct, but I mean, just for example, and that's not just the Giants. I mean,
that's a lot of teams. That's a lot of teams.
When Dalvin Cook's still a free agent, like what's that tell you? Like Dalvin Cook. Go ahead.
Running backs are going to go year to year.
For sure.
That's what they're having trouble, and the running backs are having trouble understanding that it's going to be a year to year thing now with them because of the injury problems that they all get.
I just think it's jacked up at the I know how it works, but like it's still, and it's only $800,000, but $800,000 is $800,000. That's a big significant drop off from a couple of years ago from the franchise tag to go from 10.9 to 10.1. You know, it's the only position that's going backwards.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To go backwards?
Yeah.
When quarterbacks are getting $50 million a year?
That's the problem with the NFL.
That's the problem. That's probably why Saquon has an attitude about this whole thing. Jones getting $40 million when he has one good season, and Saquon has been throwing his body out there for 4 years and got all beat up, you know, and now he can't even get himself a decent deal, you know. In his eyes.
You gave him $40 million. If you remove me from the equation of that year, what do you think his numbers look like?
Not very good.
Correct. So it's like
not very good.
That's where the player side, I be on both sides of it, where the player, you're like, hang on a second, and then you're the team, you're like, well, I don't give a damn. Like that has nothing to do with you. You know, it's just.
But I think the Giants are going to be good if Saquon is happy and right. I think they're easily the second best team in the division besides the Eagles. I don't know about Dallas, and I don't know about Washington.
I think if they
I would agree.
If they could up the franchise tag for a running back, it would at least give them some. You're talking about a guy still making $10 million. Don't get me wrong, but like that's still good. I mean, shit. What's his face got? Kirk Cousins is like the franchise tag. Like he should be on Mount Rushmore. How much money did that guy make? Being like he went year to year, and and then he finally got a deal. He was year to year getting max contracts, max amount every year. Going,
he was getting $36 million a year each year. He made $72 million on franchise tags. So
I'm doing that all year. I'm all career.
And then you have Dak Prescott down in Dallas,
right?
Who stinks. Dak Prescott stinks.
The most overrated player in the NFL right now.
If Dak Prescott was on the Vikings and Kirk Cousins was on the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys would have won more.
Cowboys would have made it to a Super Bowl.
And Prescott would be borderline out of the league.
The Cowboys are the Yankees of the NFL.
Well, there's one difference. The Yankees have won 27 and the Cowboys have won
5. I don't care about like I get what you're saying, but like as far as their teams today, like
yes. Okay, that's a fair comment.
And don't get me wrong, I'm all about history and the 27 or whatever how many champions we have. It's hard to turn your head from that. But I come out right now, and that's what people like. But the game needs NFL's better when Dallas is relevant. The MLB is better when the Yankees are relevant, right? You have someone to hate, right? Either love them or you hate them. Like there's something to be said about that. These leagues need these guys to be good to where you can have. I don't watch. I can't stand the Cowboys, but they're always on TV. You have to watch them, and
because you root for them to lose.
Love when they get beat, right? So it's like,
I mean, I always watch them because I get as much enjoyment watching them lose as I do watching the Giants win a game. I get the same enjoyment watching them lose. So you know,
because I have a lot of friends that are Buffalo fans, and it doesn't happen often. But when they lose, I'm more happy when the Bills lose than I am when the Dolphins win. I know I'm more. It's just.
No, you're not. You're not. That's the way it is.
We do the same thing.
We all do the same thing. We can't stand Dallas. I mean,
that
he's
AFC
an Eagle fan and I'm a Giant fan, but we have one. There's one thing we both agree on, and that is Dallas should lose. If Dallas lost every game by one touchdown, that's not enough.
What did you say about
Brad has worn on me a little bit over the years, so I like to see the Giants lose, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing like the Mets or the Cowboys or the Celtics in basketball.
No,
Flyers.
We all hate the Celtics, yes.
Actually, I was loving the Celtics. I was a diehard Larry Bird fan. Now I can't watch that team. That team makes me nauseous.
Well, we had the NBA tap.
I couldn't stand the Celtics because I grew up in the 60s, and, you know, the Knicks weren't exactly – well, they were good later. When they got Willis and DeBusschere and Clyde, and they started beating the Celtics and they started beating the Lakers. That was fun to watch, but the Celtics were hard to root for.
Doug, how do you feel about your Dolphins? AFC East is loaded. Everyone
I'm a little frustrated the fact that we're finally competitive, and everybody else in the damn division had to go out and make these giant moves and become really relevant. I'm all about the hype train, but we have a ticking time bomb at quarterback. Like, it's just not like he doesn't know how to be tackled. Hasn't had a healthy season since his freshman year at Alabama. So I'm not real that being said, like, I'm not a Tua hater. Part of being an NFL quarterback and a pro player is availability. You're not available. That's true. That's like Skylar Thompson. I think Skylar Thompson was our third string quarterback. We almost beat the Bills with Skylar Thompson. You know, he's not. I'm all for developing that kid. Like, let's go. Like, because we're going to have somebody significant behind him, because that's the problem with having that fast twitch offense thing, which is great when Tua's back there, but he's one hit away from the season being over with. His career.
You did sign Mike White. He's your backup now. Right,
but again, we always spend money on a backup. That's just scary to me, because we're going to be right in this position next year. Like, this is the last year of the Tua lovers, because Tua's acceptable now because he's still on his rookie deal.
Right.
This is where the misery of being a Dolphins fan, it just lives on for generation after generation.
Because you can't pay him $50 million a year.
Yeah. Say we go 11-5, 12-5.
Yeah.
We make it to the AFC Championship game. We're going to pay this dude $50 million a year.
That makes it even tougher on you.
Correct. So what is? And people are like, well, we should have got somebody else. Well, not yet, because we are allowed to go get all these other dudes because we have our quarterback on a rookie contract. Like, now all of a sudden he's going to get paid. We're going to be less around him now. And now what? That's what I'm getting to. That's where I was like I didn't dislike the pick when the Dolphins drafted him, but I was like, there's an actual dude that we passed. Let the other team pick after us. That's an actual quarterback that, God forbid, if we have nothing else around him, he can sling it around and handle being tackled in the NFL. I just don't.
That would be Josh Allen.
Oh, no, it was Herbert. Like
Josh Allen could do that.
You take the winner, I get it, but Tua was coming off a bad hip, right? Bad hip surgery, He had the ankle surgery at Alabama. Like, it just whether no, those are part of the game. I understand it, but like these tackles, like the one in Cincinnati was miserable, right? No one should ever have to watch it on national TV. Okay, but like the one against Buffalo, he just got like just pushed and he fell back and he hit his head. Like, and then every year we buy into this. Well, he learned how to fall now. I'm like, well, okay, but it still doesn't take away the fact that people. I get in this argument all the time on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not disliking Tua. I'm a Dolphins fan. The people inside the jersey doesn't matter. I had to move on from Dan Marino. I'll move on from Tua Tagovailoa. Like, I just want the guy that's going to be out there for 16, 17 games a year and see how good we really are. And that's where I'm a little like, you got to have someone who can go to the post every day. And
all four teams in that division could win the division or could finish last.
Correct. And that's my point when I first said, I was like, I'm excited about the but like we have the best team we've had in 20 years. And we still might have the same damn record. We still might be 7-10 and have a great season. That's the scary part. Like the AFC East now is like we're never gonna have where we can go 13-3 and get a home playoff game. Like no one's gonna like we've become the AFC North with when Pittsburgh used to beat up the Ravens used to beat up on each other and they go 10-6, right? Back in the day before they had 16 games. Like we're in trouble. That's what's scary. Yeah. Like we're gonna have to go on the road again in the playoffs if we do get that far.
Joseph Forgado, I can't believe Hopkins went to the Titans. That's where old wide receivers going to die. He clearly didn't care about winning a Super Bowl.
I don't know about that.
I mean,
I think that team's going to be 100% better now that they've got Hopkins as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah.
Now they have a receiver. Now they're back to where they were when they had Brown.
Right.
I don't understand how you trade A.J. Brown in his prime. If you're not going to pay A.J. Brown, who are you going to pay?
Right. Well, unless they have their defense is pretty damn good. I don't know how many individual stars they have, but their defense is pretty damn good. And you have Vrabel, who's more of a defensive-minded head coach than an offense. So that's where it gets tricky. But you're right. Like, that's my point. Like, how do you – it's like the NFL has always been like, don't get too good or don't get too bad. If you're too good, we can't afford you. If you're too bad, we'll release you. So it's like, which one is it? A.J. Brown's an animal. I just don't understand how you trade him away, period. But then again, it goes back to if you have this set thing and how your franchise works, you can't pay a receiver this. You have to move on from him.
But they pay Tannehill.
You have to pay the quarterback, and that was another, brilliant pick on the Dolphins. We took a wide receiver as a quarterback. Turned out to be okay, but that's like we can't get out of our own way in the draft. We just physically can't get out of our own way in the draft, NFL draft. We blow it every year.
All right, we got to get out of here. Fandemonium's coming up next. Rivals coming up after that. Doug Minkiewicz, Brad Ryer, I'm Rob Brinkman. Thanks to our sponsors. Thank you for everyone who liked and commented and shared our show. Till next Monday, peace out.